And I'm out here, beautiful morning in Prescott near Granite Mountain with the Overland Aterra Slide-In. So this is going to be for their full-size trucks with a 6.5-foot bed. And this is a very cool new camper. It's on a Generation 2 Tundra, actually owned by Andre Racine, longtime friend. And we're getting the chance to use it out here in the field, test it in these conditions. This is a very cool new camper. So this is going to be super lightweight, just over 1,100 pounds. So it's going to work with all of your half-ton pickups, but also is a great solution for full-size 3/4 ton and 1-ton trucks as well. This is a very thoughtfully designed, genuinely ready to go around the world, high durability, high functionality camper. Let's take a walk around. Okay, you can see how well it matches the half-ton here. It doesn't require a lot of spring work to make it work. In fact, this has only got some Hellwig overloads, and then it's got some timber and jounces, both of which I've used that combination in the past, and it certainly works well. I think they're planning on upgrading to a complete spring pack set to be just perfectly tuned to the weight of this camper. But you can see the camper is meant for heavy duty use. So this is going to be composite panel. It's going to have aluminum exoskeleton frame that all of those panels bond to, and that reinforces the corners. So if you think about any limb strikes, any of those corners are going to be well protected for that. You can see, important note, you can see that on the top here that the camper actually angles up towards the center line, which is going to give it a lot more clearance when it goes by trees, limbs, and rock outcroppings, etc., especially if you're at an angle. If you've got a little bit of a side slope, it allows for additional clearance. Then you got a nice slope to the front there for airflow up over the cab. All fits really tight, really nice positioning of the camper above the cab. And then there's a bunch of features. Let's go around the camper here. So this is one of their in-house designed, manufactured for AT Overland plates that attaches to the sidewall, and then that holds the Max Tracks. Got some high quality Arctic Turn windows throughout. Arctic Turn, of course, is one of the best in the industry, and we're seeing them used more and more by high quality manufacturers. You got another plate here on the back. They use a lot of Step 22 bags throughout the build. Step 22 is also one of those premium brands where you're going to just get a lifetime of service out of them. Most notable on the Arctic Turn stuff is this rear door. This rear door opens and has a bear-proof screen on the inside, so you can open the door and get a ton of airflow on the inside. Nice big window, and then it's got a privacy cover on the inside. You got exterior lighting that can be adjustable to brightness. Another plate here. Even their plates have a ton of thoughtful features in them. So you can use this for like aircraft track pins. You've got some long slots here so you can adjust bolts depending on what you're trying to affix to this plate. And then this is the hold open for the door. Another nice feature. You got a high quality hold open. We've also got an exterior propane tank, which you're going to attach for running the heater on the inside, the Truma heater. You're also going to use it for operating the Julka on-demand shower system. And to support that, you've also got a Julka like an ensuite enclosure that you can take a nice shower on the outside. This is how you're going to drain your gray water. Here's your propane intake. Your water intake, we've got 12 gallons of water on board. This is going to be your vent for the water system. So in this case, you can drain it out into a bucket, or if the conditions are appropriate, you can just drain it right out onto the ground. If you're draining it onto the ground, you want to make sure that you just have water or you have biodegradable soap. You want to make sure that you're only dealing with organics, so you're not causing any damage to the environment. Got a really cool little climbing attachment point, and you can put trash or hang your towel while you're taking a shower. They use the Fiamma awning on the side. Really nice brackets, and these brackets are designed to give way if you get a big wind gust, so they can just be replaced easily if you got a really heavy wind gust. But a full-length awning, and there's a pole on the inside that allows you to easily turn that mechanism on the end to open up the awning, and then the awning actually attaches to the side of the camper, these really strong connection points. So that's going to be your support arms for the awning attached directly to the camper. So you don't need to stake it out. You don't need to guy line it out. It's got a lot of structure for that. Then we've got additional solar input that goes right into the MPT solar controller, this amp solar system. So you can be under tree cover for shade with the camper, but then put a portable solar panel out away from the camper. And then this is going to be your shore power inlet. You're going to use that if you've got the camper in storage on the inside and you want to maintain your batteries. One of the most notable features of this camper is their self-centering mounting system. So this centers the camper forward and aft. You can see the angle on this plate. So as you start to set the camper down, it's going to naturally center the camper positioning wise forward and aft to keep it away from the leading edge of the bed, which on most half tons is not structurally designed to take an impact or kind of pressure from a camper. This is especially true for the Toyotas, GMCs, Chevrolets, etc. So that keeps that leading edge from making contact. And then you can see there's another plate here down in the bottom that's going to center the camper left to right. And once it sits down into those 4 plates, there's one on each corner, then you just run a bolt from the inside. Just takes a couple minutes and it bolts in place. So there's no turnbuckles, no tie downs for the camper, very structurally sound. And those plates just stay in the bed. They don't really get in the way. If you want to run motorcycles or go pick up some plywood from Home Depot, you just kind of leave those in position on the truck bed. You can see here that it just keeps the camper about an inch off of the leading edge of the bed, so you don't get any deformation of this bed span here, which is really common with a lot of other campers. Okay, so now we're going to switch to the inside of the camper, which is of course where you spend most of the time kind of hanging out, cooking, sleeping, getting out of the elements. And that is what a hard-sided camper really excels at, is getting out of the elements. You can close this thing up tight. You're going to get very little sound ingress. You're going to get very little weather ingress as far as cold because of the R factor of these walls. These are going to be a 1-inch thick composite wall. So you're going to get really good insulation factor. You close everything up, and this has got a high output heater, and you're going to be nice and cozy. So let's do a little walk around here of the camper. All right, so starting up high, this is actually the Truma Vario heat. And I think Mario and his team did a really thoughtful consideration around the heater. I've never seen this done before where the heater is mounted up high like this, but this is unused space in this corner. You're not gonna hit it with your head. You're not even gonna get close to it, but it does a great job of actually positioning the vent output to direct heat right to the bed. So you're gonna use less fuel because you're gonna want to direct that heat right to the bed. So if it, a lot of times where people mount them in little cabinets, they're down low, they're not directed towards the bed. And the Vario heat, in the way that it's configured here, it doesn't have the ability to change the direction of the heat. So they actually figured the best spot for it and then installed it right here at the ceiling. I think that's very clever. These Step 22 bags all have Velcro on them, and the roof material is compatible with Velcro, so you can move these things anywhere you want, and you can add as many of them as you need to. Of course, you want to keep the weight down low, but if you've got kind of small, quick access items, another great spot to store stuff up high. Coming a little further around, these are actually some of the dividers from the inside of the Step 22 bags that are now being used for kind of map and magazine holders. Here's another Step 22 bag. Then of course we've got our smoke alarm, and then we've got this really high quality vent fan. So this fan will go, will direct air in or out as a vacuum. And then you can set it to a temperature. You can also set it to a percentage of fan speed. And because it has a cowling, you can actually let this run all the time, even when you're going down the road. So you can constantly be pulling fresh air into the camper and reducing the heat, which is going to, of course, take a lot of load off of the fridge. It's going to make it a lot more comfortable when you get in at the end of the day. Then we've got additional turn windows here on the angled sides of the top of the camper. This is going to let a lot of airflow in that you're going to want near the bed. It does have privacy screens. Now this bed is quite clever. It can slide out with these two panels, and it actually, you can see on the inside how they slide together, which makes it work a little bit like a box spring. But you can actually pull this bed all the way out to this position here, which gives you bigger than a king size bed. And you've got these inserts there. Me personally, there's plenty of room for two reasonable sized people. I would call it like a double bed. So I would probably ditch those two extra pads and just sleep in an east-west configuration. I'm 6'1" and I was comfortable sleeping in the bed, but that prevents you from having to take up the interior living space. And the main reason for that is the access to the toilet. So if you were to have the bed in the fully extended position, you would have to remove the toilet and move it to some other spot in the camper to be able to use it in the middle of the night. They have these high-density foam, high durability cushions. They don't have any fabric on top of them, so they can be easily replaced, easily cleaned up. They are very comfortable. I actually think it's very clever. They can endure lots of time. It's actually what you would use in a manufacturing setting for standing in front of a machine to reduce fatigue. So they're comfortable to sit on, they're comfortable to stand on, they're comfortable and durable enough to get up into the bed from that position. You can see there is tons of storage in this camper. They use all Step 22 bags for that, and they've got changeable labels on them. One of the things I like in this configuration, if you're spending a lot of time in your camper and you want to go into a hotel, you just pull out these little inserts here and the bag slides out, and now you're taking this good size, basically a little bit smaller than a carry-on size bag, and you can bring it into the hotel with you, or you can take it into a place that you're staying with friends or whatever. So that's a very clever solution in my mind to be able to keep your clothing inside the camper, but then easily take it with you. If it was a drawer, you'd have to empty it out, or you'd have to have an insert. So typical Mario fashion, everything is very well labeled, very well organized, and you can actually fit a ton of stuff in all of these little bags. Probably have to be a little careful not to overload it. So here you got your pots and pans and your trash bags and your cleaning supplies. He's even got a box for popcorn and noodles. Can't blame the guy. We got a whole coffee and tea section here, canned goods, and you're going to want to put the heavier items on the lower level if you can. And they're all easily accessible by just taking out these inserts. Again, very simple. There's not like a complicated strap that you got to put in front of all of these things. It all works really well, and there's actually a ton of storage in this camper. And the reason why it feels so spacious is because they kind of let go of the idea of having a big dinette. So because they don't have a big dinette, this becomes a standing desk, and these are common on sailboats, these lagoon adjustable table supports, but because of that, they can come out into this other position here as a standing desk. It can get lowered down to use as a side-by-side dinette. There's also a seating position here that flips up into place, and it's very strong, supports 300 pounds. So if the bed is all the way out, that would actually be your step up into the bed from that position. So you're seating 3 for a meal. If you want to seat 4 for a meal, you have another seat here. You can drop the table down, and everyone can sit at the table. Nice quality bamboo table that slides out of the way. and into position here. I really like the idea of using it as a standing desk. A lot of us are working from the road. So yeah, this is kind of a nice little put your shoes on, stack a couple bags kind of a situation when you're in camp. And then all of the wiring is accessible by removing these panels. So here we've got high output USB-C, USB-A. We've got mood lighting that turns on and off with a switch. This mood lighting can all be white, or you can turn the white to yellow to reduce the bug effect. You've also got your power for your Starlink. It's already all wired for a Starlink, and you just flip that switch and your Starlink is going to start getting that USB-C power to it. You've got your scene lighting, which is going to be for your outside backlight above your door. You got a 12-volt outlet there. That 12-volt outlet is important because that's how you're going to plug in the power for the pump for your outside shower. And then you've got some additional USB. This is just the mount for the hot water shower. You pop it off of this position and you put it outside. Just takes a couple minutes and you're off and running. While we're looking down here at the floor, you can see this is, again, a very high quality carpeted floor, but it has got some cushion to it. This is the most comfortable floor I've ever experienced in a camper, bar none. So when you get your shoes off on the inside and you're walking around in here, it just feels really comfortable underfoot. All right, on this side, we've got, this is your water port for the hot shower. It's also your drain for the water tank if you need to winterize it. The water tank is visible, so you can see the water level. You can see the water level is right here quite easily. So you know what you got for water left in the 12 gallons. This is your remote for the fan. This is all the shower stuff. So this has got all of the lines and connections and stuff for the Julka. This behind this panel, of course, is going to be your sink. And here is your sink, which you've got a nice bamboo insert, a deep sink, easy for cleaning dishes, etc. And it all gets water from this Dometic water system, which I'm a huge fan of. Very simple, very easy to service and replace. It just charges from USB, which of course you have a USB connection right there to charge it from. And it just operates with a little bit of touch sensitivity and you got water going. Really quick access to your fire extinguisher. Kind of like that it's up a little higher. A lot of times they stick them down low, so you end up kicking them or gouging yourself in the middle of the night unintentionally. So you can see a nice big working surface. This is your Truma heater control. And then we've got some more USBs up here. You can see there's extra holes for expanding if you want to put in additional either user installed items, or you can have AT Overland put all those in place for you. This is going to be your Fiamma awning pole, so you can reach up and access that and deploy the awning. And of course, one of the best fridges in the industry, the National Luna. This is their newest model, high quality fridge. It's going to be dual zone, so you're going to have your freezer on one side and then a deep fridge on the other. You can see the rails here for sliding the bed across. Additional USB outlets on both sides here like that. Now this little dinette system is basically your main seating area. And you can put a small child to sleep there as well. But you've got 2 additional storage bags. And then this on the right is going to be your power system. So it's going to have your Red Vision from Red Arc. This has also got your CO2 and propane alarm, which does need to be down low because those things are heavier. Those toxins are heavier and they're going to come down towards the floor first and fill up there. So you want that to get an alarm. You've also got your resettable circuit breakers. And this box is quite unique in the fact that they use a tray that can be reconfigured in a couple different ways. Right now it's got just over 100 amp hours of battery capacity, and then it can be increased up to over 300 amp hours depending on how you configure the entire system. So a very clever setup with that. And then in the center position, we have our composting toilet. So this just magnets in place. So you just kind of pop that off there. And then you've got one of the Tribolo toilets. These are great toilets. A nice little composting system. Separates the urine from the feces, so you can set it up as a compost. You can use it like a wag bag for if you're just going out for a weekend. And then the urine trap, you can pull out of there and dump it into any pit toilet or into another bathroom and flush it. And those are very clever systems. They're a great way to keep use to a minimum in the outdoors. We always, if we have space, we always want to try to be using a toilet as opposed to leaving toilet paper and things that people don't want to experience at a campsite. You want to try to use a toilet if you can. It's something that we have as a responsibility as travelers, is to minimize our impact in these high use areas. So a very clever setup overall. And the thing that's most important to note is that this is all modular. So you can start off with just a basic shell if you don't want any of these systems in place, or you can add one module at a time depending on your needs. You might just decide, hey, I only want to have the sink module, and then you could leave everything else open. Or you can say, I only want the sink and the fridge. Or you can go full build out like this is, where it's got all of these modules in place. But despite the fact that this is an entire full build out, it feels extremely open for a 6.5 foot camper. There's tons of open space. The white walls add to that sense of that open space. And overall, just a very clever system. This particular setup doesn't have 110. You may want to have that installed by the team. One of the things that I did notice that I would probably want to be a little different is, and these windows, it's very easy to configure that, but I'm always surprised when a manufacturer puts the screen on the bottom. They do that because that's where the air is starting to come in from, but it doesn't resolve the privacy issue. So if someone is changing and you have this crack to get airflow, everybody can see inside. We always recommend that these just get flipped like that. So the screen comes down from the top. That way you've got privacy for the occupants and you're allowed to have a little bit of airflow in. We've never seen those windows compromised in that way. It doesn't cause this to billow out or to pop out. So we always recommend that that's flipped over. The upper windows doesn't really matter because they're so high, but you certainly don't want to have these in this configuration. It's very rare to see manufacturers get that right. We're going to talk a little bit about this door. So this is going to be your privacy screen. This can get popped down and it folds just down to let a little bit of light in. You can see it's even relieved for the door here. And you can actually separate the screen from the outer door. And it's a security screen. So when it's closed and locked, it's got these dual catches. It's all locked tight. So animals, other two-legged creatures can't get into the camper, even in screen mode. This is a very durable screen, and it does have a bug mesh on the outside of that. So it is considered bear-proof. So this is a really, really high-quality door. It's a step up from most of the other solutions you see on the market, and I think one of the best things out there. And of course, that's why it's on the Aterra. So overall, I mean, incredible camper. I can find very few things that I would do different. Anything, even like the window screens, is easy to fix. Those windows are designed to put them in a different configuration, so you just flip them over. Just really thoughtful manufacturing considerations all the way around. Even the sharp edges that would typically be found with these metal plates, they've all been cleaned up, deburred, very safe. Overall, this is a big open space. This kind of camper would survive decades of use in the field, and it's designed to do that. That's one of the things that we've always known from AT Overland, is a heavy emphasis on functionality, on organization, use of space, integration of high quality systems. So all of the components that are in here are the highest quality that are available. You're not seeing a compromise just to save a couple bucks with a few of the appliances. So these are all really high quality systems. The camper comes in at just under $50,000 as you see it configured here, which I think is a great value given the cost of other units on the market, and it does come in at about 1,100 pounds, which means it's going to be appropriate for use on a half ton, which many people have Tundras. So a camper like this in a Tundra is a perfect fit. The only thing that you notice is a little bit less space in the bed because of the angles. So it does feel a little bit tighter in the bed. Of course, if you pull it out into the full king configuration, you got plenty of room to feel like you got overhead space and comfort. But I do like just keeping it in that simple east-west configuration. So it does feel a little bit tighter in there. So make sure you give it a test to make sure that it's going to work for you, or try it in the full bed configuration. The other consideration around it is the finish on the outside. That's going to be very personal. You just want to make sure that the finish is, you're making that emphasis towards durability and longevity, as opposed to some of the kind of cleaner finish that you would get with some of those gel coats or those gloss coated campers. But overall, incredible job by AT Overland. I'm going to see these, I know, more and more on the road, and especially people that are planning to go around the world.